Hello, good afternoon for me, my friends. I am, and whatever time you're listening to this lecture, a good day or a good evening to you. Um, okay, we are going to continue because we have a few more sessions apparently left. I am overwhelmed a little bit, but no. We're going to remember where I left you, my friends. We talked about the narrative of Islamic origins, and I took you through the Arab conquest and Umayyads and the Abbasids. But we're not finished with the Abbasids, right? Because it's in well, not during the Abbasid period, but um, well, yes, in the 6th century, actually, mid 6th century, we have a new people coming from the east, right, and making a movement towards the west. When you have sort of migrations, sort of mass migrations, it is probably under some kind of pressure. Here, it might have been the Chinese, or it might have been the climatic conditions and whatnot. At any rate, in the middle of the 6th century, new people come to be added to the history of Western Asia, and those are the Turks. The origin of the Turks, we don't have the Turks on the scene until the middle of the 6th century. You can see the sort of movement here. So until the middle of the century, there are no Turks in Central and Western Asia, right? But mid 6th century, we have a population called the Gökturk, who come and establish a vast empire. You see, this is the Caspian Sea here, my friends. They come and establish a vast empire, right, that goes from Caspian Sea basically to the borders of China, right, from the 6th to the 8th centuries, right. I have asked myself to please click on the thing, so we're going to click on it. We're going to trust me and click on it, and yes, something is going to come. Yes, so okay, just bear with me, my friend.
A Domino's order carryout
Okay.
online or by phone and get any one-topping pizza for $7.99 each.
Okay. This is the history of the Gökturks, from where they're coming, right, and how they're expanding, right, and ultimately where they go to the Black Sea area. Yes, my friends, and you see 590, 594, 597, 590 and it goes on, and then I hope you're seeing this, and then in 620, 600, it breaks up to Eastern Turkic, to Western Turk, Eastern Turk, and then just Western Turkic Khaganate. You see how it goes. 682, 687, 690, 693, 698. Yes, 702. Why is to, oh, go back to our slides. I hope you saw all of that. We're gonna see. I'm gonna see on the slides whether you saw all of that or not, and if not, well, it. If not, I might think of something else. But anyway, the point is that from the 6th to 8th centuries, these Göktürk populations come and expand, and then through these centuries, right, they go up and down, and they get disconnected to Eastern Turks, to Western Turks. They shrink, they expand, right? But the Turkic population is on the sea. But as I told you at the beginning, we're going to start with the Turks, but I just want to wrap up the first part a little bit here for you. So I gave you the narrative of Islamic origins. Well, this narrative, every aspect of this narrative has been questioned in one way or another, right? Whether or not the Quran was actually, produced at the time it was produced. It is not clear at all, right? Because the first sort of pamphlet of the Quran that we have has been carbon dated to somewhere between 550 before the birth of the Prophet, from 550 to 670s or something. So it's not very clear, but that's the about the Quran, the process of its collection, and later on its dissemination. All of that has been questioned by scholars, right? Whether or not the Quran had Christian influences or Jewish influences on it, that has been questioned, or Syriac, right? Um, um, Influences on it, right? That has been questioned. Whether or not to what degree Prophet Muhammad might have been important in the until the rise of Abdul Malik in the Marwanid period. It is not clear. Well, basically, yeah. Okay, I lost my train of thought, my friends here, but that has been questioned, right? The fact of whether or not the prophet had the prestige and had the role that we are told, right? Uh, During his lifetime, and that has been questioned. The narrative of the life of prophet, right, has been questioned by myself, right, that the prophet has been born in 570 and is 610, he gets the Ba'isat and so on and so forth. That has been questioned. The whether or not we can call the population that went on conquest, we can call these populations Arabs, right? That has been questioned. It is now agreed by a good section of the scholars, cross section of scholars, that yeah, I keep losing my train of thought, my friends. But a lot of elements here have been questions, right? And the narrative of the life of Prophet, when he was born, when he was received the revelation, when he is supposed to have made his wars, when he is when he makes the immigration to Mecca and Medina, it has been questioned whether the immigration was from Mecca to Medina or from somewhere else to Medina, because Mecca does not appear in the Quran, right? And there is very little sort of significance to it until the Zubairid period, right, where Mecca becomes kind of a sanctuary from that point onward, right? That has been questioned whether or not the Umayyads had such a hold over the extensive sort of areas that you usually see colored in our maps, whether that was the case or not, was has been questioned. How much of a control did the Umayyads have, for instance, on northeastern Iran and Tukharistan, nowadays Afghanistan, right? That has been questioned. There has been, in the narrative of Abbasid revolution, we have had a lot of questions whether or not religion had a part to play in the Abbasid revolution. That has been questioned. What was the causes of the revolution is still being debated. I am going to throw my 2 cents in the debate and argue that that religion had nothing to do with it, and that it was basically in pursuit of trade, right? And as I told you, pursuit of the control of the shortest route of trade, i.e., the Khorasan Highway, that the Abbasid Revolution was launched. That has been questioned. So the degree of conversion has been questioned, right? The fact that the population of Arabia became sincere Muslims, that has been questioned. There have been questions after questions after questions that have came up in our study of the early history of quote unquote Islam, right? As I told you, that the whole issue of conversion is still not clear, right? So it is into this world, right? Into this world that has had this, this ups and downs, but that has created, right, a fantastic civilization by the Abbasid period. And in Baghdad, right, the golden age of Islamic civilization had begun in Baghdad, right? It is into this period that we put the sort of the beginning, right, because we go to the 8th century, right, beginning of the coming of the Turks into the picture. But before, so here are, the Turks that ultimately, the Turks were called first, they were called Gokturks, right? And by the 8th century, their name is changed into Oghuz, and it was being generically applied to the inhabitants of the Gokturk Khaganate. We have evidence of this in the Orhan inscriptions, and these are on your left hand side is the Orhan inscriptions written in Old Turkic alphabet in the early 8th century and installed in the valley of Orhan, where you see it here, right? And in it talks about basically basically the coming of the Turks, basically. So we're dealing with a new population, right? With a new population that well, quote unquote, ethnically is different than the rest of the population of Western Asia, right? And has a different language, even, right? And brings into the being, we dealt with the Indo European language, family of languages, we dealt with the Semitic family of languages, and now we are dealing with the new language group, which is the Ural Altaic language family, right? So um, uh, this is the Ural, these are the Ural Mountains, Ural and Altai Mountains, my friends, right? So that's where we are, we're talking about, right? Uh, the Ural Altaic language family, right, what comprises these, right? Turkish, Mongolian, Manchu, Japanese, Korean, look at this, Hungarian, Finnish, Estonian, because as you can see, right, we ultimately go to, as we will see, we ultimately, the Turkic population ultimately pushes to, first of all, north of the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea, as we have seen with the Gok Turks, right? And then further on, right, with the coming of the Seljuks, which we will be discussing shortly, into Anatolia and further on into the Balkans, right? So that's why you get Hungarian, Finnish, and Estonian as a member of the Ural Altaic families, right? So who were the Seljuks? The Seljuks were a branch of these Oghuz Turks. A branch of these Oghuz Turks were the ancestors of the Seljuks, and the Seljuks arrived in Western Asia in the second half of 11th century. To make it precise, right, they had a battle, the Seljukids had a battle with the Byzantines. So one of the important achievements of this Turkic sort of state empire that the Seljuks had created was in fact the issue that they moved into Anatolia at the Battle of Manzikert. You have read it, I am sure. Manzikert, 1071, right? Which takes place somewhere here, right? The Seljuks defeat the Byzantines and move into the Byzantine territories. Right, they have taken over the Anatolia, which was an important part of the Byzantine territory, right? And they have eventually they will Turkify it, right? And here Anatolia becomes for you Turkic. It was originally Greek, right? And then Roman, Eastern Roman, right? Especially, i.e., please excuse me, i.e., the Byzantines, my friends, right? But eventually Anatolia becomes Turkic, right? but retains Greek minorities. To this day, there are Greeks in Turkey, right? So so, but going back to our period of conquest and whatnot, um, I want you to remember this, that, okay, the Umayyads had come and we will have a better map, and cross the Oxus River, right? Which is this one here. I'm sorry, which is this river here, right? Oxus, and and the other river here. Okay, the name of which again escapes me. I have problem remembering that name. Okay, but the point is this, my friends. With the coming of the Umayyads, right? The Umayyads push the here look at it. They take over the territories of the Turks, right? And they pushed the Turks beyond the Oxus, right? And then the Abbasids, the Umayyads and Abbasids also pushed them beyond this other river that Jaxartes. Look at it; it's in front of me, you guys. Jaxartes, right? Amu Darya and Sir Darya. I wrote Persian names for them, right? Because this area had been heavily Iranianized, right? Before it became Turkified, right? They pushed them beyond Jaxartes, and basically for 2 centuries, right, or 3 centuries, right, before the coming of the Seljuks, right, the realm was basically protected from the further immigration of the Turkic population into what is Transoxiana here, right? And then beyond it into Khorasan, and then as we see going west into Anatolia, right? I hope you have the map in your mind. I mean, there are a number of maps that we have seen already, right? So the Seljuks ushered in one of the greatest epochs of world history, right? And they added a third ethno-linguistic group to the population of Western Asia. They prolonged the life of the caliphate because they came and conquered Baghdad, but they did not topple the caliphs, right? And they tore Asia Minor away from Christendom, right? And they opened the way for the establishment of the Ottoman Empire that went from 1299 to 1922 in one form or another, my friends. And one other thing that they did, they became Persianized and took the Persian language to Anatolia and beyond, right? Into the Balkans, right? So, so that's the general introduction. But as far as the caliphate was concerned, right? So I mean, the Abbasid through the Abbasid period, they are still and beyond Jaxartes, right? But they begin to infiltrate the caliphate through Turkish mercenaries, right? The Caliph Mu'tasim, who ruled from 833 to 844, started using these Turks as slave soldiers, right? As soldiers. When and he created a capital for them in Samara, my friends, halfway between Kufa and Basra, right, in order to station his Turks there. But from this phenomenon of Turkish slaves, right, I mean, slavery in the version that we are talking about, right, is basically not slavery at all. Because what? Because you will have the opportunity to be manumitted, right? And once your bond of slavery is taken away, right? Once that happens, then you could go up the ladders of power, right? So to such extent that you could establish your own dynasties. And this was the case with the dynasty of the Tulunids and the Ikhshidids, as you see here, right? Tulunids and Ikhshidids. Okay, you see what I'm trying to pinpoint, my friends, right? Um, they became self-governing states, and the Tulunids and the Ikhshidids, right? Uh, in the 800s and in the 900s, right? The Tulunis, right, came into Egypt, right? And they were, they ruled for basically give and take 4 decades, very short, yeah. But they were Turkic slaves, right? And they were their sort of realm was set up, right, by Ahmad ibn Tulun in Egypt. Now, the Tulunids, like the Ikhshidids, my friends, right, were also the Ikhshidids also were Turkic slaves, right? But and in fact the Tulunids, I forgot to put a map for you for the Tulunids here, but um, please bear with me, and I want the thin line, please. Yes, so you see that this is the empire of the Tulunids, this part. Right? So they had, my friends, what is Hijaz, right? To the east of the Red Sea, that Hijaz, that barrier of mountains, right? They have Egypt probably up to Nubia, right? And they have that's what they have, right? And if we look at it, and we're going to get to this, right? Simultaneously with the Ikhshidids, right? Look what we get here. We have the states of Hamdanis, we have Buyids, we have Safaris, we have Tahiris, right? So, meaning that what? Meaning that because if we consider that the I'm sorry, hold on. If we consider that the uh, well, let's not consider that. Okay, um, these dynasties that are made up of slave soldiers, right? And we will have other ones. Are you know, Turkic dynasties. They are made up of slaves that have been manumitted and have uh, gained their freedom and have gone through upward mobility, and they to these slaves, right? We also say Mamluk. We also call them Mamluk, which literally means to be owned, right? To be owned. So the Mamluk dynasty of the Tulunids here, and the Mamluk dynasty of the Ikhshidis, right? Okay. The well, this is a point of not well. If you want to know, the Ikhshidis, the name of the Ikhshidis itself seems to be Persian, so they might have been. It's not clear at all. They might have had a ruling population that was Iranianized somehow over a Turkic population that was made of, Mamluk Turks. It is, but that is, don't quote me on this because it is not clear at all, my friends. Okay, so the history of Egypt, if we want to go through just to concentrate on Egypt for now, the history of Egypt, when you want to go through from the classical period to the coming of the Mamluks, follows the following, right? We have the Macedonian dynasty, remember, Ptolemaic, Macedonian period, Alexander comes and conquers Egypt, and his successors. Then one of his successors is Ptolemaic, right? That builds the Ptolemaic dynasty, right? As you can see. Then the Romans come in, right? And the Romans established the Byzantine. The Romans come in, and then at the height of their extension, meaning around 60 BC, right? They come in and take over Eastern Mediterranean. Yeah, my friends, take over Eastern Mediterraneans. Then we go to Egypt under the Rashidun, the Umayyad, and the Abbasid Caliph, right? And then we get the Tulunids, the Ikhshidids, the Fatimids, right, who are not a Turkic population, and they are a Shiite branch of Islam, you see, and so on and so forth. Finally, the Mamluks, right, which go from mid 13th century here, my friends. Where are we? Mid 13th centuries, to the rise of the Ottoman Empire, right? And as you can see, my friends, and you can reflect on this whole issue of Israeli-Palestinian thingy that has been with us for ages. You see that Egypt has always been connected, right? We remember, if you go take your World Civ courses, you will realize that this has been always the case, right? He who has control of Eastern Mediterranean will naturally be diverted to Egypt and vice versa, right? So then we get to the Mamluk Sultanate, and you see that this is the area of their under their jurisdiction, right? And Mecca and Medina are also under the jurisdiction of the of the um, of the Mamluk Sultanate, right? But I have gone now, my friends. I have taken you through a big portion of. I have not gotten to the Seljuk yet. We're going to get to that of the history of the Turkic my sort of infiltration first as Mamluk slaves, right, and later immigration, right, uh, uh, until and the Turkic and the slaves, the slave dynasties of Tulunids and the Mamluks and the Ikhshidis and so on and so forth. We will concentrate um, uh, on the Seljuks in a second, but you see that you have the empire of Mamluk Empire of Egypt, that this is the extent of it, and this is the 1250 to 1517 um, is the uh, is the duration of the rule, right, my friends? So now, um, as you have seen with me, right, from the chronology of the Tulunids onward, from basically mid 9th century onwards, right, Egypt kind of goes its own ways, right, and is not part of a caliphate. I have to get my okay. Uh, so okay, and the Tulunis, mid 9th century, right? Egypt and Syria kind of goes its own way, right? Okay, it goes its own way, right? But other things are happening. In other words, right? The Abbasid revolution happened in 750. Already by 860s uh, in Egypt, right, part of the Abbasid Empire has been taken away. The same is happening even earlier, mind you, with the territories in the east. And let's go to the territories of the east, my friends. So meanwhile, in the east, right? In the east, you see this is Baghdad is right. Well, somewhere here, right? And this is Iran, right? You see, this is basically the borders of contemporary Iran, something like that, right? Borders of Iran. Okay, so you see that all of a sudden we have two generals of the Abbasid Empire rising and basically, I mean, giving all due sort of respect and taxes, right, to the caliphate, but basically acting as if they were independent, right? And they had an extensive territory. And you see, my friends, what I told you about the um, uh, routes of trade, right? What have they taken over, right? They have taken over, you see, they have come to Takharistan here, right? They have come to Takharistan here, where Balkh is. You see, this is Balkh, Herat, and Kabul, right? So they have taken control of this land route, remember, that goes here, right, and goes here, and they have also taken control over the Persian Gulf and hence the Indian Ocean. So they are controlling part of a good section of the trade routes, the Tahirids. And we don't know about the ancestry of the Tahirids. One of their not well wishers but mal wishers, right, had left this poem sort of about the Tahirids for us by saying the following: Tahir has left us three marvels, which put everyone's wits into a whirl. Three wretched ones, with a common father and mother, but with distinguishing features to set each one apart. One group says, my people is Quraysh, but both the clients and those of pure blood refute this. Another group traces its genealogy, meaning the genealogy of the Tahirids, right, to Khuza'a, which is a tribe, Arab tribe, right? And although this is a clientship, old and well known, right? A third group inclines towards the house of Kisra, i.e., the Sasanian kings, but these are considered to be vile foreigners, right? Meaning the Sasanians, right? We have been overwhelmed with the numbers of their genealogies, whereas in fact all are equally spurious, right? Okay, so no longer have the I mean, like shortly after, and mind you, look, the Tahirids come and basically declare independence, right? I mean, they're not independent. Please, I don't want to exaggerate that, right? They pay all due allegiance to but they act independently, right? They collect their own taxes. They maintain their own taxes, portions of their own taxes, and so on and so forth, right? They establish their own administration and so on and so forth. The time, but what I want you to take note of is that this sort of secession, this kind of disintegration, if you will, of the Abbasid Caliphate in Iran already starts before the Tulunids, right, in the early decades of the 9th century. But no sooner, 4 decades after the Tahirids have taken this part of the world, and you see, of course, that they are also controlling Sistan, right? Which is very very important again for this trade route, right? The two trade routes. They're controlling this area, right? But in 861, right, two brothers rise from where? From Sistan itself. Whereas the Tahirids were coming from, upper echelons of military, these Safavids were coming from plebeians, right? And they're coming from the plebeian origins. Their base is in Sistan. They built a vast, if transient, military empire, which at one point stretched from the borders of Afghanistan and India in the east to Fars, Ahvaz, and the fringes, which is this map, right? Threatening Baghdad itself, even after the fall of the second Safarid Amir, Amr ibn al-Lays. His immediate successors retained control of all southern Persia, right? But the rise of the Safaris marks the first significant breach in the territorial integrity of the Abbasids' supposed universalist caliphate, and it is the first Iranian dynasty to rise. So now we have Iranian dynasties coming up, right? Turkic slave soldier dynasties coming up in the west, right? And in the east we have the Turks coming. But there are also the Samanids, right? The Samanid dynasty that you see here. And I will stop here, my friends, and I will take up on the Samanian and the Seljuks, and I will take us to the Mongols in a separate session of this module. Okay, my friends, I hope you like this lecture and talk to you in the next lecture to which I am looking forward. Okay, happy days, my friends.